Welcome back everyone. In the previous video we discussed about the the surfaces represented by the cerebrum and four borders, three surfaces and four borders. So I recommend you to watch the previous video before watching this. You can find the previous video in the info card. So in this video we shall discuss about the sulci and the gyri presented on the medial surface. So in the previous video we have discussed about the surfaces, three surfaces and four borders presented by the cerebral hemisphere. So before watching this you can have a look onto that video. So you can have find the video on the I button somewhere over here. So let's get started with the sulci and the gyri on the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Okay, so today we shall discuss about the medial surface, sulci and gyri. So in this video we will try to cover all the names and some of the important characters. The character means some of the peculiarities of those sulci and gyri, and in the next video we will try to draw a diagram representing all the sulci and the gyri showing in that diagram. So in this video you can try to remember the names, or you focus onto the names, try to remember them, and if you think it is if you think or if you feel that you can make a note, and you can also find the note in the Facebook link, in our Facebook link Doctors to Be. The link is in the description. Facebook page link is in the description. Okay, so before starting to the sulci and the gyri, I would like to mention a structure, that is corpus callosum, which is presented on the medial surface. So the corpus callosum is a band of white matter which connects the two cerebral hemispheres. Yes or not? So the corpus callosum presents four parts. So we should discuss about those parts so that we will be a bit clear. So if this is the corpus callosum, it presents four parts. Okay, from posterior to anterior. So okay, this is the posterior, this is the anterior, superior and inferior. Okay, so from posterior to anterior it presents four parts. Posterior to anterior: selenium, trunk or the body, xenu and the rostrum. So it is presenting four parts from posterior to anterior. From posterior, okay, posterior POST I am writing. So from posterior to anterior it is presenting four parts. This is corpus callosum. Okay guys, so I will write in the last. So the from posterior to anterior is splenium, then trunk or the body, the third part is xenu, and the last is the rostrum. So these are the parts of corpus callosum. Corpus callosum. Okay. So before discussing about the sulci and gyri, we should have a little knowledge on these. These are from the posterior to the anterior end. It is splenium, trunk or body, xenu, rostrum. These are the parts of corpus callosum. Okay, so the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere. Okay, the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere presents seven sulci. Okay, the medial surface of the cerebral hemisphere is presenting seven sulci, and we'll write the names of the sulci and try to mention the include the gyri along with them and some important peculiarities. Okay, so the first one is anterior. So first and second. Okay, anterior and posterior. I am writing anterior and posterior, start from ANT, anterior, POST, posterior. Okay, anterior and posterior per olfactory sulcus. Okay, so anterior and posterior para olfactory sulcus, these and in between these two sulcus, anterior para olfactory sulcus and posterior para olfactory sulcus is present is the par olfactory gyrus. Okay, so the par olfactory gyrus is present between anterior and posterior par olfactory sulcus. Okay, and this anterior and posterior para olfactory sulcus are present. These are present below, little below the genu. Okay, that's why I discussed the parts of the corpus callosum, because we need to know the location of these sulcus. So anterior and posterior para olfactory sulcus are present just below genu. Okay, somewhere over here. Okay, while drawing in the figure we'll mention it. For now, just try to remember the name and the location. Try to remember. I know you will be clear only when you look at the figure. So this is genu. Okay, present below the genu, and in between the anterior and posterior, para olfactory sulcus is the para olfactory gyrus, and behind posterior para olfactory sulcus is para olfactory gyrus. Okay, so the next point is behind posterior para olfactory sulcus is the para terminal gyrus. Okay, so anterior, posterior, these are the first two gyrus among the 7 gyrus, and anterior and posterior para olfactory sulcus, 7 sulci among 2, these are 2 among the 7 sulci. Anterior and posterior para olfactory sulcus present below, little below the genu, and in between the anterior and posterior para olfactory sulcus is the para olfactory gyrus, and between anterior and posterior is the para olfactory sulcus. What have I written? The para olfactory gyrus is present between the anterior and posterior para olfactory sulcus. Yes, I was just confused. Okay, I got confused. Okay. This is the first one. Okay, and behind the posterior para olfactory sulcus is the para terminal gyrus. Okay, so you will be much more clear when we draw the figure. So in this video we just discuss about the 2 sulci. We will discuss about the rest 5. We will try to cover in the next video. So we can also find the note of this much. I know it's quite short, but you can find in the Facebook page, and the link is in the description below.